A trial date has just been set for the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni legal battle. A judge set their trial date for March 9th, 2026. I don't want to wait that long, but they say the date could be canceled if both sides reach a settlement before then. In all likelihood, that will be the way this shakes out, but we don't know how long it will take. And in the meantime, internet sleuths are going to do their damnedest to solve this case all on their own.
Yes, they are.
And they just found out some really insane information about the New York Times piece that was intended to smear Justin Baldoni on behalf of Blake Lively's allegations. So, just to retrace our steps here, I would like to make some mentions of dates and times. Blake Lively filed her civil complaint against Justin Baldoni on December 20th of 2024. But the New York Times piece that came out after her complaint was on the 21st of December 2024. And the title of it was, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine. Private messages detail an alleged campaign to tarnish Blake Lively after she accused Justin Baldoni of misconduct on the set of It Ends With Us." This is authored by New York Times writers Megan Twohey, Mike McIntyre, and Julie Tate. This is on the 21st of December, literally just a day after Blake Lively's complaint. This is before she even filed the lawsuit. And it turns out that TikTokers are doing the real investigative work here.
Of course they are.
The Daily Mail reported, and I would also like to give credit to Candace Owens for also talking about this on her show, explosive clue that the New York Times prepped Blake Lively's sexual harassment report before her civil complaint was public. Essentially, the theory is that Blake Lively's legal team was colluding with the New York Times before her civil complaint was ever released in order to have a coordinated attack on Justin Baldoni from both her legal complaint and the media. So allegedly, New York Times started prepping their bombshell report on Blake Lively's harassment claims against Baldoni at least 5 days before her lawsuit was in the public domain.
Yeah, reiterate that. 5 days.
At least 5 days. It could have been even longer that they were talking with each other and colluding with each other, sharing information with each other. So this is because it ended up being that TikTokers went to the New York Times piece and checked the metadata on the images that they created, that their graphic designer created for the purpose of this report. A composite image of the It Ends With Us co-stars that was created for the article has a December 16th, 2024 date embedded in its URL. That might suggest that the New York Times staffers had advanced knowledge of Blake Lively's complaint and had a story ready for publication when she filed it on December 20th. The Times report was published the day after.
Yeah.
Any such coordination on Blake Lively's part would undermine her central claim that it was Baldoni who was scheming with his media partners to trash her reputation rather than the other way around. It could also hand Justin Baldoni more ammunition against the New York Times, who he is suing for defamation for $250 million, claiming that its reporting was rife with inaccuracies, misrepresentations, and omissions. I want to show a TikTok that explains this detail. They must have overlooked this when they published the article and didn't expect people to look into it this deeply.
I now have extremely compelling evidence that Blake Lively actually gave New York Times her complaint before she filed it with the Civil Rights Department. This comment says, "This is great research. I don't suppose anyone has checked the metadata on the images in the New York Times article." You beautiful genius. But it wasn't the metadata where I found the date. It's the fact that New York Times labels their hosted images with dates. And this image, if you follow the images linked in the New York Times article, each image is hosted with its own link. And if we zoom in right here, you can see that says December 16th, 2024, which Which means that unless New York Times mislabeled the date for this, New York Times had Blake Lively's complaint for at least 5 days before they published the article. And it's not just this one. All of the graphics that they used are hosted like that. This one is dated December 20th, December 18th, and then this one is from the 21st. There was no date attached inside the actual metadata.
We're not going to do that anymore.
Maybe I'm just not technically advanced enough to be able to find that. Why does any of this matter? Well, because Blake Lively's team are trying to say that Justin Baldoni's team are the first people that leaked this information to the press. And yet somehow on the 16th of December, they're able to make the headline image. We already knew because of the timeline, New York Times essentially had to have it in advance. Now I feel like we just know a little bit better about when they definitely had it by. I think this is proof that they had it at least before the 16th of December because they did have to develop this graphic. And by the way, it's really important who gave it to the media first, not who published it first, because the actual rule of professional conduct, Rule 3.6, which Blake Lively's team is trying to say that Justin Baldoni's team violated. In the part where it talks about when you can defend yourself, a lawyer can make a statement to protect their client if there's a publicity not initiated by the lawyer or the lawyer's client. Not initiated. And I think initiated is the important word. It doesn't say published, it says initiated. And if the New York Times started making graphics for their articles by the 16th of December, I think it is very clear who initiated the release to the media. I mean, it was clear before this, but now we at least have a date. Okay, Levy.
Yeah. So this is damning for Blake Lively's claim that Justin Baldoni was orchestrating the hate campaign against her rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
It's just outright, like, it's proof. I don't even think that Baldoni's team would have found this on their own. They had to rely on TikTokers.
Sleuths.
To do the work for them.
Yep.
It's insane. And on top of that, now that the New York Times is getting sued by Justin Baldoni as well, the author of that report, Megan Twohey, is backtracking on her earlier claims. In this video I'm about to show you, Megan Twohey, the author of that New York Times article, basically claims it as fact that Justin Baldoni was guilty of orchestrating a hate campaign against Blake Lively. So let's listen to that first.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Of turmoil behind the scenes. In a legal complaint Lively filed on Friday, private text messages and other documents that we've obtained reveal what really happened. A campaign to tarnish Lively after she alleged that Justin Baldoni, her co-star and director, and Jamie Heath, the producer, had engaged in misconduct while shooting the film. Of turmoil.
So that's a statement of fact. That is not saying allegedly this, allegedly that, suggests this or suggests that. She is literally just echoing the exact same claims as fact that Blake Lively was making in her lawsuit. And now, in a recent podcast appearance, that same New York Times author, who is under fire and possibly going to get sued for millions of dollars, is suddenly not sure what happened. She's like throwing up her hands and she's like, I don't know. It's impossible to know.
I mean, that's what you do when you go in front of Congress, right? You say, to the best of my knowledge, I don't remember. I can't recall.
This is
can't recall.
Her latest quote. We don't know. We can't be sure. But last August, after the film premiered, instead of the negative press that Justin Baldoni feared, there was a flood of negative press and comments online instead about Blake Lively. So you see Baldoni vacillating. You see Melissa Nathan, who is Justin Baldoni's PR rep, responding. But, Megan, do we know actually whether the online backlash against Blake Lively is the result of Justin Baldoni's team? She said, we don't. I mean, it's difficult to know how much of the backlash was authentic and how much they might have seeded or amplified the discussion. But what we do know is that in addition to the backlash against Blake Lively, by the end of the movie's promotional run, there was also a very strong pro-Justin Baldoni narrative online, which his team was celebrating. Mm-hmm. For instance, one PR person texts Melissa Nathan, this is again Justin Baldoni's PR rep, the narrative online is so freaking good and fans are still sticking up for Justin. You did amazing work. Melissa Nathan replied saying, narrative is crazy good. The majority of socials are so pro-Justin, and I don't even agree with half of them.
Yeah.
So she completely walked back her earlier statement of fact that Blake Lively was the victim of a hate campaign orchestrated and paid for by Baldoni.
Think it's too little too late?
Well, it's hard to say because New York Times hasn't lost a lawsuit in like a gazillion years.
Yep.
Like they're just lawyered up to the gills.
Yep.
They don't exactly, you know, I don't know if maybe they'll just give him a settlement.
Oh yeah, I mean, settle out of
that
court.
that won't probably go to trial.
I mean, but his if I'm him, but
Blake
for
Lively.
him, like he's not exactly in the same situation that like a Johnny Depp was in, where for Johnny Depp he doesn't need the money; it's about vindication for his name.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, his name has already been vindicated in a way. At least the public sentiment is on his side, and maybe the idea is like, look, I don't know if I can take on the 10,000 lawyers that the New York Times has got. Like a lot of times they'll just run out the clock. They'll just keep you in court forever until you're out of money. He runs a production company. He's got other things he wants to do in his life. He's got a family. Maybe he settles out of court, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't nearly as settled for Johnny Depp. I remember just even while the trial was still going, there was a pretty vocal support for Amber Heard still online.
Yeah.
There were still many people who were fully convinced that he was guilty of everything she said he did.
Yep.
So at this point, I'm seeing almost complete and total support for Justin Baldoni and hate against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
I see a couple people in the chat who are still team Blake.
Do we have Team Blake? What are they saying?
Somebody said, after you finished, they said, yeah, I'm still Team Blake on this one.
Why? I would love to know, like, your reasons for that. I don't even care enough about, like, having a personal loyalty to either person in this situation.
Weird
that is weird, and that's a parasocial relationship. And I think they're both really annoying. Yeah. For the record, like, Blake Lively is obviously a Hollywood airhead with a massive ego who sounds and looks super annoying, has a track record of being rude to peasants, the commoners. Yeah. And then Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, isn't that much better because he is a dyed-in-the-wool male feminist who thought that it was going to pay off for him, and he got the lesson that he needed to know, nice guys finish last, dude. That's not the way you conduct yourself in a professional situation, and you were misguided.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media, and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.